Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining me for Healthy, Free, and Fabulous. This is a talk I usually do around the country and wherever I am invited in today into your home. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you and share this presentation. So this is going to be a really fun day, a really fun presentation. We're going to go over really all of the major points of keeping a healthy lifestyle. So I'd like you to direct your attention to this quickly.
So you know I'm here. You can hear me loud and clear. You get the sense that we have some unfinished business. There is more. You can't quite put it into words, but you're excited about what is next. Aren't you? I know, it's like I'm in your head. It's crazy. We have the same goal. To unearth the woman we both know has something beyond imaginable limits. To beautifully loose. Let's get started.
Thank you again so much for being here. I am so excited to share Healthy, Free, and Fabulous with you. I also sometimes call it Live Free and Fabulous because I really believe that the healthier you feel, the more alive you feel. And so today I want to get started with a couple of questions. And if you have your worksheets, you should have this with you. And you can take notes right now, and you can also take notes throughout the session. So these questions might not make sense at first, but I wanted to get them kind of churning so that you can keep them in mind throughout this whole session. So the first question that you have there that you'll see is, why are you here and what do you most hope to get out of today's session? So I want you to go ahead and set your intention right now for what you desire to get out of this session. The next question is, who are you on the inside? Who are you showing up on as the outside, and do they match? And if they do not match, do you have any ideas about what is getting in the way there, causing that difference? So those questions, keep them in the back of your mind as we move forward in today's presentation. So today what we're going to learn is the fundamental steps to get you closer to your health goals. We're going to walk away understanding how to effectively reframe your mindset surrounding nutrition, exercise, and stress management. Cut the confusion and leverage your time by optimizing your efforts for targeted results. Understand how to build a strong foundation for your legacy, longevity, and your purpose. Debunk the lifestyle balance myth. Get the secrets to lose weight, fit your clothes, feel free, and look fabulous doing it, and uncover what commonly holds people back from moving forward. So that's what you can expect out of today's session. And make sure you stick around to the end. Make sure you stick around to the end so that you can get the entire picture. It's basically the blueprint of how I lost over 86 pounds. And I did it basically twice. So I'm going to be sharing those secrets and just a really good, straightforward information that you can take home and you can actually implement today without anything further. Okay. So has anybody on here, just wondering, have any of you ever tried to make any sort of healthy lifestyle change or lose weight at all? My guess is most likely at some point in your life. For some of us, maybe every Monday. I don't know. And I'm curious, who has had success in maintaining that? So usually we have a group that has been able to just, get it done, rock it, and then a group that, is back and forth. And then a group that just is like, no way, that's not for me. So I'm wondering, for any of those groups, are any of you confused about what actually works from everything that is conflicting in the media with all the different fad diets. I don't know, who's familiar with keto and gluten-free and, Weight Watchers and South Beach diet. And there's so many different diets and fads and science that is thrown at us constantly that sometimes it's just so overwhelming that we don't even know where to begin. So today I'm going to teach you a little bit more than just eating kale. Okay, because I know kale is pretty popular and it's great, but the answer is not solely in kale. So let's continue. And today my goal is to clear up some of those things and simplify in each of the areas that I mentioned before. So stress, nutrition, and exercise to start as the main foundation for getting you towards your goals. And so a little bit about me. My name is Christine DeSouza, and I'm a healthy lifestyle coach, personal trainer, and I help busy, tired women create a lifestyle filled with energy and health, okay? And so I just really trying to help people feel alive and aligned with their goals and present in their life and happy. That feeling really breeds some happiness, right? When you're feeling energetic, it just a lot of times it just makes you feel a lot better, a lot better in your everyday life, in your relationships, in your work, in your purpose, which we'll talk about later. So a little bit about me. I have been doing this for over 20 years, working, managing, fitness centers, training one-on-one with clients. My background is actually in dance education and performance. And so I have run the gamut with health and nutrition. And a number of years ago, I had quite an experience. So I've never been one of those women or kids that could just kind of stay in a healthy body fat percentage or a healthy range. I always had to really, really work my tail off to stay there. And I still have to work my tail off to stay in a healthy range for my body. And I think that that's part of what attracted me to this industry is understanding the struggle. And there was a period of time a few years ago where I was pretty sick. I was managing, so here's the picture. I was managing a fitness center, right? So I am supposed to be there leading in health. And I didn't understand why at the time, but I was so sick that I was bloated all the time. I had pain in my body. I couldn't understand exactly what was happening. I literally had chest pain. I couldn't walk or I couldn't stand and do the dishes for very long, maybe less than 10 minutes. And I did not know what was going on. So I went to the doctors for over a year, and some of you can probably relate to this, going to doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor, trying to figure out what is going on. Having doctors tell you, you're crazy, this is imaginary, this is all in your head, and not really understanding that, no, this is real. This is real. And it took about a year, but I found out that I did have celiac disease. And so we finally got to the bottom of that. And then I still had lingering symptoms. And I ended up having to quit my job, which I think I may have mentioned that, because it was so taxing. And I figured out eventually that I had Lyme's disease. And when I found out the second time that I got diagnosed with Lyme's disease, because it had showed up, and that's when we figured it out, I also had a mass in my liver that was there and maybe affecting things. I'm not really sure. And it continued to stay there, and the doctors didn't want to test it. They just wanted to watch it. They just wanted to watch it and watch it and watch it for over 2 years until what? Until it started to grow. And then they finally took it out. So I'm sharing my health experiences with you just so you can understand where I'm coming from when I talk about keeping a healthy lifestyle. Because when you don't have any health problems, sometimes it's no big deal to just kind of ignore it. But other times it's really glaring and obvious, but it can be defeating, and it can be really hard to make these right choices. So it didn't stop there, of course. You know, now I have 2 amazing kids, but my pregnancies, they were very good and very healthy, except I gained a ton of weight with both of them. So with my first, I gained 86 pounds, lost it within a year. And with my second, I gained 72 pounds within a year, which was, you know, embarrassing to tell you the truth. In my profession, I'm sure my bosses were like, interesting. And so I wanted to share that with you because I had to decide at a certain point if I was going to curl up in a ball like I wanted to every time one of these things came up against me. And every time one of these things wanted to stop me from living my best life and living free and fabulous and feeling energized and feeling happy and not feeling depressed and beat down all the time, I had to decide what I wanted to do. And I decided to live the wealthy life, which I'm going to explain to you right now. And I've defined it as this. You'll hear me use that term, the wealthy life. And it's wealth. It means well-being or the possession of great qualities. It also refers to the value of assets owned minus the value of liabilities owed at a point in time. And health, a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So combine the 2 words to describe my motivation, which is wealthy living. So I had to decide, am I going to practice what I preach? Am I going to go ahead and try and attain this wealthy life against all odds? And I had to decide yes. And some of you might have to make that decision today. And so before we go into the 3 areas that I want to talk about today, we're just going to talk a little bit about kind of like the basics and where we are as a country. So right now, we are in a crazy season, which I'm sure you all understand, but we're going to just kind of hone it in, not think about that for the moment. Okay. And we're going to talk about literally the state of the health of the country in terms of vitality, okay? Not in terms of disease quite yet. So this is the United States here, and you can see the percentages here, which are representing, and this is all from the CDC, you can look it up as it changes over time, but this is representing the health of the country. And this is based on, this particular graph is based on your BMI, right? So it's self-reported obeseness, basically. So you can see there's a couple of states that are doing really awesome. So we got to give a shout out to Colorado, rocking it, okay, Massachusetts, and DC, okay? So, and Hawaii is in there too. Sorry, yeah, Hawaii. So these are the quote unquote healthiest states right now. But you can see as the colors get darker in that orange and then that dark red, that's showing the percentage of self-reported overweight in the unhealthy range of people in the country. So you can see it's quite a bit. So if you do it by percentages, and this is with actually with this, these stats are with body fat percentage, you'll see that we have 31% is overweight, and 40% is actually obese. And so that's 71% of the country in an unhealthy range, okay? And 29% in a healthy range. And somebody pointed out to me, and actually these statistics are not listed on the CDC website, is for those who are underweight, because underweight is also an unhealthy place to be in terms of body fat percentage, okay? And we need now more than ever to be prepared in this country and around the world, okay, to not have any underlying conditions, okay? So in this country, what does that mean? If 71% of us are not in that healthy state, okay, it means that as Americans, we're at a higher risk for heart disease that accounts for 1 in 4 deaths. Type 2 diabetes, 1 in 4 deaths also. Some cancers, okay, can be accelerated by an unhealthy lifestyle. High blood pressure, osteoporosis, and osteopenia, okay, that's your bones, right? We need to maintain our bone density. And after age 65, it's 24.5% we start decreasing in bone density, okay? So depression and anxiety, all right, we don't think about this as part of our health sometimes, but it truly is a huge part of our health, okay? And premature death, okay? And again, all this information, you can find it on the Center for Disease Control website, okay? They have each different disease and their statistics listed separately, so you can learn about them and understand the risk factors there even more. Oh, that was in the wrong spot. Okay, but this is where you can see the progression from when I got pregnant and gained the 86 pounds, and then to when I lost it the first time. I don't have the second time in there right now, but all right. So I know what you're saying. Excuse me. You're saying, okay, nice to meet you, Christine DeSouza, but please don't mess with my life. Everything is just perfect. Everything is just perfect, okay? So I'm not gonna mess with you too much, but if you have your worksheet, okay, I want you to go down to the next section where you're gonna put these next items in order of priority for you and your life, okay? So we have career, food, oxygen, exercise, family time, alone time, sleep, meal prep, house chores, God, money, anything else you wanna add in there, water, personal health, and social obligations. So those are just a few things that I'd love for you to press pause and kind of jot them down in a different order. And you might change it along the way, and some of them might be kind of neck and neck, all right? But you kind of have to choose. Sometimes you have to choose. Okay, so go ahead and complete that little tiny micro assignment. And I know it's micro because it's not too long, but it is it's a lot to think about. So go ahead and move forward with that assignment. You know, I had a friend, and it was actually when I was managing that fitness center that I mentioned. He was a part of that fitness center, and he was just like the kind of guy who just seemed to have everything together. So when we're talking about priorities, he just seemed like had it all. He was one of those guys where you're like, how does he do it? You know, he's always full of energy. He's always smiling, doing great at his job, you know, just full of love and light, just the kind of guy who just everybody is attracted to. And one day he was gone. And that was something that was extremely difficult for our community at the time, and of course for his family. And he interestingly, it's said that one of the last conversations he had with one of his friends was that he said that everything in his life was perfect. Everything was perfect. And he was so young. And he had a daughter, and then he also had one on the way. And at the time, you know, he was about my age. He was about 30 years old. And it just, you know, everybody would thought like, well, he's so healthy. How could this even happen? And when we're talking about health and nutrition, you know, what this comment tells me is that the quality of his life was really good. I mean, I don't know how many people would say their life is perfect. And I really believe, just knowing how he was, that his health, his physical health, played a big role in his vitality and how he was feeling and how he was showing up. And so we're going to talk about stress management and nutrition and exercise and how it helps with longevity. But what I really want you to grasp, and when you're doing these lists of priorities, is I want you to remember that it is the right now. You know, so if you're one of those people who are saying, I don't have time. I don't have time right now. I'm sorry, I can't do this right now because I just don't have the time. I want you to think about the quality of your life, because right now, today, and tomorrow, and the next day, that's what makes up your life. That's what makes up the entirety of your life, is today plus tomorrow plus the next day. So we don't really have time to waste. We don't really have time to waste when it comes to that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and frame exercise. I am curious, what are the things that you think of immediately when the word exercise comes up? So go ahead and write those down. And it's going to be different for everybody what you think of when exercise comes up. So go ahead and write those down. And some of the most popular answers for framing your exercise, or how people will automatically, naturally frame their exercise, is that it's a time sucker, could be hard, could be painful. They think about sweating. I've had a lot of clients say, okay, they show up for their personal training session. They're like, I want to work out, but I don't want to sweat. So there's like that fine line. Sometimes when people have to go back to work, that we have to stay in, right? It's competitive, vanity. Some people think it's vain to work out. They feel like, oh, I don't want to be putting, you know, so much attention on myself. Okay. People are self-conscious. You would be surprised at how many people are just so self-conscious that they don't even want to go into a gym. And that's, you know, that's a real thing. So it's very important that we help people feel comfortable when we are at a gym, or when we're outside walking on the street, or wherever we are, because it can take a lot of courage to just get there and put yourself in a new environment where you feel uncomfortable. Okay. So soreness, people might think of the soreness that happens a day or two later. It might cost money. And then there's fear, right? And just mention some of the fears, like maybe fear of failure, fear of people judging them, fear of how they look. So many different aspects of fear that come into play when it comes to exercise. Now, what I want to talk about is reframing your thought process when it comes to exercise. Okay. And Dr. Caroline Leaf, if you haven't heard of her, she is a neuroscientist, and she specializes in reprogramming your brain. And according to her, she says that you can reprogram your brain, and that it's essentially up to you. So that's what we're going to attempt to do today. And we're going to get a little bit more into it later, but it's essentially a little bit of an attitude adjustment, okay? So when we think of exercise, some of the things that we want to have in the forefront of our minds, and it might take a little practice for this to get there, is reminding ourselves why exercise is good for us, right? So oxygenating your blood, okay? The more oxygen that gets carried to the rest of your body through the blood, the better all the systems in your body are going to run. So conditioning your heart, the more oxygen, right? The more this thing's going to get a workout, okay? Conditioning your heart and releasing dopamine and serotonin, those feel-good hormones. You're going to build strength. You're going to increase your bone density, which we talked about already, because especially after a certain age, it starts going down if you don't maintain it. Okay, maintaining mobility, right? So you want to be able to use that body, okay, and move that body. Exercising for longevity, improving self-confidence, and bonus, your clothes fit. And of course, endorphins decrease stress and depression. Okay, same thing. We're gonna do the same exact thing with framing food. So tell me about your food. What comes to mind when you think about eating? This should be interesting. So go ahead and jot those down. And again, you can feel free to pause this as we go through. And I'll share some of the most popular answers that I've gotten when I've done this talk all over the country is friends, guilt, overwhelm, pleasure, social indulgence, peer expectations, like, okay, well, if she's gonna have another glass of wine, I guess I gotta have one, right? Or sometimes people even say, like, what, you're not gonna have another glass of wine, right? Happiness, nostalgia, that's one for me. Dishes, some people think, well, I'm not gonna cook a healthy meal because that means I'm gonna have to do a lot of dishes. It's true, right? If we don't have the energy and we're tired, we start rationalizing, making different choices, right? Okay, hunger, right? When you're hungry, you think about food. Discomfort, sometimes people will have either food allergies or digestive issues when it comes to food. So for some people, they're not thinking about, oh, this is going to be delicious, this huge lasagna. Not everybody's thinking like that. Some people are thinking like, oh, that cheese is not going to feel good later, or, acid reflux for some people. So there's so many different things. And some people are thinking about, oh my gosh, this food is so fattening. How many calories is this food going to cost me? Right? So it's going to be a lot of different things that run through our mind when it comes to food. Okay, so now let's take Dr. Caroline Leaf's advice and start to give ourselves a little attitude checkup here and reframe our eating, reframe our food, okay? So we can think of food as nourishment to support the processes of the body, right? Because if we don't eat well and we don't eat right and we don't eat enough, our body suffers, right? And our body makes other plans too. They've got plan A, plan B, plan C. Okay, and some of us don't think of that, but our body does, so we need to treat it right. Regulate healthy weight, control blood sugar levels, heal the body. Yes, we can actually heal the body with some foods. Boost your immune system. We can boost our immune system with certain foods, the right kind of foods. We can enjoy high quality foods and experience and appreciate cultured cuisine. And to protect the world, I like this one, from your fit of hunger. So that one kind of goes along with controlling your blood sugar levels, but I think that more people can relate to their hangry friends. Some people will admit they're hangry, but not everyone. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, moving on to stress, because you know what, stress is actually the one that can just take both your nutrition and your exercise down and get it out of the equation completely. Because if you're stressed, there's some that will latch on to exercise as a means of coping with stress, which is great because scientifically that actually is proven to help stress. And we'll talk about that, but that's not true for everybody. For some people, if you're stressed out, there's no way you're going to meal prep. There's no way you're going to make good food choices. You're going straight for the chocolate, straight for the ice cream, and you're not getting off the couch. You're watching Netflix, and that's going to be it. You decided that for the day, right? So when stress gets you, we're at all kinds of different extremes, right? We're all individuals, and we all deal with stress differently. So this one is one of the most important ones for us to talk about. So you go ahead and you write down, what are the things that come to mind when you think about stress or stress management? And I'll tell you, some of the most popular ones are their job. Sometimes raise your hand if your job causes you some stress. Money, right? Money can be a big one. I think that, I can't remember the statistic, but I know that's one of the main causes of divorce is disagreements over money, right? So that can just cause just a little bit of stress. Relationships can be stressful. Any kind of lack in your life can cause stress and cause that tension. Change for some people do not like change. Others love it, but for some, change, take it or leave it, right? You know, for some people it's exciting, but it's not exciting for everyone. It's not exciting for everyone. We like stability, right? We like security. We like to know that all of our ducks are in a row. Okay, now this one, I know you might get a little bit temperamental about. Coffee. I know you don't want me to talk about your coffee, but coffee can induce stress. It can make your body feel stress. It can simulate the stress, okay? So if you're feeling chest pain or tightness or anxiety, your first step should be to cut the coffee, okay? I don't want to ruin your day, but it's true. You know, I did have a client once who came in and said, hey, like I'm having chest pain, I'm not feeling good, and asked him a few more questions. Found out he was taking some caffeine pills plus having coffee. And so I did my best to nudge him to quit the coffee and stop taking those caffeine pills because that can be extremely dangerous. And of course, I don't think he really liked me saying that. I was like, you probably don't like hearing this right now. And I didn't see him for a while, I'm not going to lie. But the next time I did see him, he was like, hey, I just want to thank you because my chest pain's gone and I'm all better and I'm not drinking coffee and I'm not taking caffeine pills. Okay. So sometimes it's the simple things. Sometimes it's the simple things. Okay. So if you want to reduce your anxiety, think about the coffee, just saying. Drugs, other stimulants as well. Okay. You might think about deep breathing to reduce stress, meditation with a blank mind, which I'm not a huge proponent of. I prefer you meditate on something important. It's different, and we can have that conversation another day. Yoga, or you might think of a glass of wine or 2 or 3 at the end of the night, right? So these are some of the most popular answers we get for framing stress. All right, let's talk about reframing stress. So some of the good things that can come from stress, because it's not all bad, it can cause some self-reflection. Okay, so if something negative happens or something stressful happens and the tension builds, it's going to cause you to reflect and think about what's going on, right? It's going to bring about, for many people, not everyone, but for many people, it's going to bring about some self-awareness, okay? Excuse me. It can spur on some motivation to excel, right? If there's a little bit of healthy amount of stress, a little healthy amount of pressure, it can actually motivate you. It can motivate you, okay? I always laugh at this example of if you find out you're going to have some unexpected visitors in 15 minutes, let me tell you, you're going to clean that house a lot quicker than you would if you, if you didn't know that, right? And you have the whole week. So I think that's a good hysterical example of that. But, you know, same thing there. Okay. So low level short-term stress strengthens your focus. Okay. You can get more done in a short amount of time. Okay. It evokes gratefulness. Sometimes when you're stressed, it can evoke gratefulness. It can encourage creativity. If you're in a bind, then sometimes you got to get creative with your resources. Do things you might not want to do, but you might be able to find another way, right? And I think that that's how a lot of creativity and new emergence comes in the world, you know, in terms of inventions and new and better approaches to things. Okay. The ability to determine the best path, right? You get pretty straightforward when you don't have a lot of wiggle room there. Okay. So feels like you have temporary superpowers. I like that one. And you can at times reduce procrastination. Okay. So some of these kind of layer on top of each other, but there is some positivity to stress. Okay, let's keep going. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is the Opportunist Method. And this is how I kind of define the Opportunist Method. It's getting the best value out of everything in life with heart, smarts, and integrity. Okay, it's very concise. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm skipping the songs for you for this, just for time's sake. Okay, I usually have original music that I share, and I will share it. But not in this particular presentation, okay? All right, so let's talk about, we're going to start now with the Opportunist Method. And we're going to start with stress because, like I said, that's the one that can just take everything else out, okay? And we're going to talk about the brain, okay? So what I like to explain here with the brain are the different parts, okay? So we have, and you can see there on your screen, the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, amygdala, and the hippocampus. Okay, so what happens is a thought comes into your brain. Could be any kind of thought, like, I don't feel like working out today, or why don't you go get some Oreo cookies, or, you know, anything. So it comes into your brain, and your amygdala says, okay, you can come in or you can't come in. All right, and so the amygdala, excuse me, talks to your hypothalamus, okay? And your hypothalamus comes to the door and says, hey, who's at the door? The amygdala tells them who's at the door. Is it okay if they come in? Yes. The amygdala says, yes, they can come in. So the hypothalamus goes and tells everybody else, like, hey, ma, we got company. Can you get some tea going or coffee going or whatever? Okay. It responds to the amygdala. Okay. So whatever the amygdala says, the hypothalamus starts the process of, you know, getting things prepared. And so what the hypothalamus does is it talks to the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland will start to release the hormones in your body accordingly. So according to whatever the hypothalamus tells the pituitary gland. So it could be good hormones, it could be bad hormones, right? If the hypothalamus says like, hey, you just let in like a robber, then it's going to tell all of the stress hormones to shower your body. So I hope that's making sense. So the amygdala talks to your hypothalamus, and your hypothalamus tells the pituitary gland which hormones to release. So they could be the feel-good hormones, okay, which are dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, right? When you let good and you meditate on good and happy and wonderful thoughts, okay? Or it could be the opposite. If you're constantly ruminating on the negative, then you're going to be releasing the cortisol, the adrenaline, and the non-epinephrine. So what the amygdala's job is a pretty big job, is to say, is the doorkeeper, is the gatekeeper, is to say, hey, you can come in. no, sorry, you can't come in. So if there's a thought that's coming into your mind, like, yeah, you really don't look good in those jeans, like you should take those off, okay? Or, anything else, like all these voices that we have kind of coming in, like maybe it's a memory of somebody telling you, you're no good, you can't do this. Or, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's the voice of a teacher who always encouraged you, or a parent who was always praising you to help build up your confidence. So it's the amygdala's job to say yes or no, okay? And so you decide what chemical reactions happen in your body, okay? And I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm saying it's possible. And I'm not saying I'm a neuroscientist, but I'm saying Dr. Caroline Leaf is a neuroscientist. And then if you look at the science that's out there, it's true. Okay, so stress management. Okay, so what we need to do for stress management, okay, is we need to identify solutions to problems that are causing the stress and take action. Okay, so the only way that we're going to reduce the stress in our life is finding out the root cause, and making some decisions surrounding that to change it. Okay, and they might not be easy decisions. They're probably going to be hard decisions if it's a situation that's causing stress, but that's our responsibility to do that. Okay. An enjoyable activity. So yeah, you want to do enjoyable activities that engage the mind, but takes you away from the realm of time and space. Okay. So anything that completely engrosses you in that, right? Have you ever had a day or done an activity where you have no concept of time? That means you're fully engrossed. That is a therapeutic activity, whatever it is that you're doing. So it could be anything. It could be, exercising. It could be, drawing. It could be reading for some people. It could, whatever it is, but usually it's some sort of a hobby, or maybe even a creative hobby. Okay. And you want to do anything that regulates the nervous system. So exercising, having those calming teas, taking naps when possible. I know that sounds like a myth, but it's possible for some people. Doing anything with creative expression, like I mentioned, massage therapy, okay, actually physically changes what's happening in your body. Okay, that's another way to facilitate movement of the blood and everything that's in your body. So the toxins, which you want to flush out, of course, through either cleansing, drinking water with these massages, getting them out of your muscles. Okay, laughing, getting those endorphins going that way, and of course praying. Okay. All right, so the opportunist stress strategies is getting the most bang for your buck, essentially, right? Getting the most out of your effort. So keep your amygdala in check, right? Do more of what makes you happy. Do what revs up your natural endorphin factory, which we mentioned. Exercise, eat right, listen to music, create, remove sources of stress, smile, hug, touch, get to the root, get help, and make the hard choices. Okay. So for the opportunist method, you want to get as many of those things and layer them up as much as possible to start combating that stress. But above all, get to the root and make those hard choices. Okay. If you're not alone in your room, find someone. And I love this activity. You're going to set your timer for 60 seconds, and you're going to look someone dead in the face and hold a smile for the entire minute without looking away. Okay, biggest smile ever. And I'll tell you a little story surrounding this. There is science that says that when you smile, okay, you can find it on Forbes, Psychology Today, NBC, my mom, okay, that if you smile, if you fake it till you make it, it will actually start to change the chemical reactions in your body to actually help you feel happy. So if you're not feeling happy, this will feel silly. And my mother actually is the one where who I learned this from years ago, because she always, whenever I was having a hard time, even over the phone, she always say, excuse me, should always say, let me hear you smile. And of course, I became even more irate. But when I actually did smile, it actually worked. And so I thought, you know what, let me just see if I can actually find science to support this. And I was able to. So go ahead and try that. Okay, pause this and go ahead and smile at someone. Hey, if you have to smile at yourself in the mirror, you can do that too. All right, so now we're going to move into the opportunist method when it comes to eating, okay? When it comes to your food, right? And one way I like to think about it is if your calories were currency, okay? That's just a simple way of kind of quantifying some of your eating habits, okay? So if you were to think about your bank account, okay, you have so much money in your bank account, and you got to pay your mortgage, you got to do your electric bill, you have to pay for your water, you have to pay for your main utilities, right? So when you pay for those things first, you have less money left over for, you know, probably the recreational things that are non-essential. So for example, if, sorry, that was bothering me. So for example, if you take your money and you go to Vegas and you gamble the majority of that month's money away, and then you come back home and you're like, oh, okay, well, I think I just spent my mortgage money gambling, and I spent my water money, you know, going out for steaks, and I spent my electricity money, you know, doing whatever else recreational that is a non-essential, then your well-being is going to be off. Okay, so it's the same thing when you're thinking about your food. You want to eat the essentials first. You want to get as much good nutrition in your body as you can first, and then you save a little bit for the fun stuff, right? But it has to be in the right appropriation. Okay, so for example, the opportunist diet. I love this term, and I heard this term from a friend who she's amazing, and she won actually a figure competition, and so she's really good in this arena. And so I asked her, I'm like, are you vegetarian? You know, what do you do? And what she called herself was a nutritarian. And I love that because it means that you're eating the most nutrient dense foods possible. And that's what she eats. Okay. That's basically what she eats. And so you can eat more food for less calories, eat more nutrients for less calories. That's the most important one. Eat more nutrients for less calories. Okay. But within your budget, right? This doesn't mean you don't eat enough calories. This means that whatever calorie range is good for you, you get as many nutrients in to that allotment as possible. Eat local and fresh. So if you can get to any sort of farmer's market or CSA, that's a really great option. Eat clean. Nutritionally supported fasting is another really great way to keep that body clean on the insides. And there's a lot of science that goes along with that I don't have time to share today, but ask me about it and I'm happy to share, because this is something that they're finding some amazing research on for brain health and every organ system of the body, which is pretty incredible. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that in there. And then there's macros. So that's another way of paying attention more to your nutrients rather than just the calories. Okay, so your macros are your protein, your fat, and your carbohydrates, to make sure that you are eating as an opportunist and getting what you need. Okay, that's going to benefit your body the most. Okay, exercise. We're almost done here. So we're getting to the opportunist method of exercise. Now I know this little pup thinks that's the best thing to do for exercise, maybe for a part of the time, but probably not all the time, okay? So when it comes to exercise, the most efficient, and some of this is geared towards weight loss because that is overwhelmingly what I get the most for clients, is for weight loss, food allergies, and things like that, and just creating more energy, okay? But we're busy. We don't have a lot of time. So we want to be very, very efficient with what we do. And so I'm going to tell you right now, what's the most efficient when you're doing your workouts. So you want to burn more calories for your time investment. Okay. So if you have that 30 minutes, you want to get as much impact as possible within that 30 minutes. Okay. So hit high intensity interval training. So you're increasing your strength, your endurance, and your agility, and you're burning more calories for the next 24 hours, okay? So it's not just about what you burn in that session, it's also about epoch. You might hear people say like the word epoch, or the acronym EPOC, but that's basically how much you're burning for the next 24 hours, okay? Your afterburn, okay? You might hear people say. So high intensity interval training is great for that. The other one that gets the most impact, okay, for your amount of investment is strength training, high intensity strength training, okay? So you're burning more calories at rest, and that increases your metabolism a little bit, okay? But you're burning more calories during the process of rebuilding your muscle, okay? So you're also getting stronger, but burning your calories during the process of rebuilding, okay? So if you do high intensity weight lifting or strength training, doesn't have to be with weights, okay? Your muscle is going to break down, and then your body has to excuse me, getting a little dry, has to rebuild, and that takes energy. Right? That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for your body to do that. Okay. So again, it's not just what you're doing in that 30 minutes, it's what's happening after. Okay. And so then we also have to take care at a certain point, at a certain level. You can think about all sorts of things like what you're eating for your nutrient timing before and after your workouts to optimize that. Okay. Etc. I won't go into that now, but you can reach out to me if you want more information on that, of course. Okay, so balance. So who here believes in a balanced lifestyle? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, so that's kind of a trick question in a way. Because as you can see, this house, it's kind of balanced, but it does not have a strong foundation, okay? So a lot of times when you have this pie chart, people will think that a balanced life means that you have the same equal amount of time, energy, treasure in each one of these areas: friends and family, significant other, personal growth, fun and leisure, home environment, career, money, health. So this is a really popular kind of like life coaching wheel that you might see around, but it's actually not making sure that all areas are equal. I like to use this statement, and it's a little wordy, so I'm going to read it, and you might have to think on it a little bit, but it says, all areas should represent your priorities, and your priorities should support your goals. Your goals should be determined by who your infinite relic is, which we'll go over. It's really who you want to be and who you want to show up as in the world, and who your infinite relic needs to be to live your purpose on purpose, and your infinite relic needs to reflect your core values, strong foundation, and live by them. Okay, so it's really what's important to you in order for you to take yourself, your family, and your life where it wants to go. Okay, so for some people, money might not be the most important thing for them, right? So they're okay making a little slice of money. Their income doesn't need to be really extravagant. They just want enough. Okay. For others, it might be the opposite, okay? So you got to take your priorities into account there to find the balance, okay? And so then here's what I want to talk about. Those questions I asked you in the beginning. Now, who are you on the inside and who are you on the outside? Who do you want to become? Like, what's your future look like? What's your purpose look like? And I came up with this term, infinite relic, okay? And infinite means immeasurably more, okay? It means immeasurably more than you could ever imagine, right? So immeasurably more than you are now, immeasurably more than you were in the past, okay? And then relic. A relic is a surviving memorial, okay? So this term means immeasurably more than you have ever been in the past, okay? Immeasurably more. And I came up with this because so often I hear, if I could only get back to when my jeans fit, if I could only get back to a time when I was making this much money, if I could only get back to, like all the glory days are already behind you. And I don't know about you, but that's not really going to give me much to look forward to if I'm always striving to go backwards and go back to a time that was better. Okay. And so this, your infinite relic, is about creating what you want for your future and believing that it can be immeasurably more, immeasurably better than you are now or in the past, or whatever you're striving for, that there's hope and there's purpose. Okay. So I want you to spend some time thinking about those questions and realizing for yourself if you have any of those tendencies of wanting to go back in time, because we can't forget about our history, because that's created us to be who we are right now. Okay, so we need to continue moving forward, but with a different mindset. Okay, with a mindset of abundance and a mindset of hope and a mindset of passion, a mindset of purpose, and a mindset of believing for more, that you are not at a dead end right now. Okay, so think about that and take some time to kind of write down in your notes what comes up for you when you read that. Okay, and I want you to think about, if you're not matching what's on the inside to how you're showing up on the outside, or how you want to show up on the outside. And this is something for me too. I think this is something we're going to be able to ask ourselves in every stage of life, okay, for everybody. So this is not just for you, this is for everyone. It's a good question to ponder, is if you're not exactly, that person that you feel like you are or should be inside, is not coming out, then what is it that's holding you back? What are the things that need to change? And for some of you, it will be health. It might be health, right? But for some of you, it will be something totally different, and that's okay. Not everything has to relate to exactly this topic, because we're talking about your next steps, okay? And so think about that a little bit and try and dig down and say, say to yourself, like, what is getting in my way? What is getting in my way? Maybe it's your mindset. Maybe it's some sort of an internal monologue. Maybe it's your job, or maybe it's nothing. Maybe you're exactly where you want to be. Not everybody is stuck in the past, or having a negative outlook for the future. Some people are just totally incredible at this, and they're living exactly the life that they want to right now. But if not, if you're not, then it's a good opportunity right now in this season to think about that and make a plan. And a great place to start is with your health and nutrition. Absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to ask you one more time here. To go ahead and, in your worksheet, if there's anything that needs to change when it comes to your priorities, go ahead and pause this and do that now. Remember, we had career, food, oxygen, exercise, family time, alone time, sleep, meal prep, house chores, God, money, other, water, personal health, social obligations, or anything else that you want to add to that. So go ahead and pause that and do this assignment right now. Okay, so I wanted to talk very briefly about, what stops most of us when it comes to going towards our goals. And for a lot of you, if you're on this, still in this session, it's probably having to do with your health and your nutrition and your longevity. Now, a lot of us are uncomfortable with discomfort. That is one thing that can hold us back often, okay? Being uncomfortable with discomfort. Lack of knowledge, process, or accountability, that's somewhat easier, right? Because you can find accountability, right? You can get a personal trainer or a friend or somebody that's going to help you get from A to B, okay? Or there's tons of courses and, you know, people with experience that you can learn from. So knowledge or programs, you know, something like a blueprint, you can find that. So that's actually one of the easier ones, okay? This one is a little bit more tricky, okay? If you're not clear on why you want what you want, if you're not clear on why you want to be healthy, if you don't have that as a driving force, then it's going to be a little bit harder to create that intrinsic motivation. And I have seen that with my clients that are just kind of straight to the point. They know exactly what they want and why, and that's really a kind of a glaring light for them to run towards. They have a lot more success than if they don't drive down to the actual real reason why they say they want to get healthy, right? Okay, because it's not all just about how we look in our bathing suit. Sometimes there's a little bit more to it than that, okay? Another reason is that we might not believe we can do it, or we underestimate the power of the choice that we have in our life. We can change the trajectory of our life with just a choice. Any choice that you make can make a huge difference, right? If you choose to change your job, if you choose to, you know, try and have children or not have children, if you choose to move to another country, if you choose, you know, there's so many choices that we forget, you know, when we're in our day-to-day doing the same thing all the time, we forget that, you know, the choices that we make actually bring us to our destination. So we're not in control of everything that comes our way, but we are in control of a huge portion of it, okay? And sometimes we just don't grab onto that authority and move forward with it. So consider that. I know that's another uncomfortable thought, to take responsibility for that, but it really is our choice. Okay, so for this, if you would like access to the clean eating tip guide or 30-minute HIIT workout prescription, let me know, shoot me a message, write in the comments, and I will get that over to you, okay? Because that could be a little bit of ignition to get you going. It can be a little bit of ignition to get you going. And I just want you to remember that, you know, you do have the choice, and your health is really important. And there's you know, a couple things that I didn't quite mention before, is that, you know, when I had that tumor in my liver and I had to watch it for 2 years, it turned out to not be cancerous, which I praise God for. But for 2 years, I didn't know. I had no idea what that was. And I had to carry it around, right? So that took a toll mentally, emotionally, physically, in all sorts of ways. But I'm grateful for it because it made me realize the things that are the most important. So when I thought this was more important, I remembered this was more important. And we're going through a crazy season right now, and you might be realigning with your priorities and your goals, and kind of finding out like, hey, my actions were not reflecting what was a priority in my life. I just, going through this session and going through what we're all going through right now, I just want you to use this as an opportunity to kind of set your life up as best you can, reflecting those priorities, and one of those being your health. I really believe that your health is the foundation of your life. And going through that experience made me really remember that, because my relationships are important. Of course, work is important. There's so many things that are important. But I realized, you know, when I had to quit my job and not be able to work, I had to realize that if I'm not healthy, none of this is going to be able to move forward. And it sounds so cliche. It really does. But when you get real with it, we're not promised tomorrow. And I know that's another thing that you've probably heard so often, but we've got to take the steps, make the decisions, the hard choices that it's going to take to do our best with our health and with our present, because that's really all we have right now is our present. So I hope that you enjoyed this program. If you need any assistance, let me know. I've got, you know, all kinds of different programs. I run some free programs sometimes. I also do virtual personal training, nutritional coaching, and lots of fun things that I try and kind of throw out there. So let me know if there's any way I can help you. Feel free to reach out, send me an email, let me know how this has impacted you, if you decided to make any changes or anything at all. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.